Good morning, BookTube. This is Johnny. It is July the 19th, 2017. It's 10:37 in the morning here in West Michigan. I'm sitting here. We shut the house up this morning because it's hot and humid outside. I'm sitting here writing in my diary. It is on page 650. I got to put away in my July 2017 diary. I thought I made last night a video before I went to bed about the best Christian books that stood out in my mind that I've read the last 6 months. I'm sure I've forgotten stuff, but those things that came to my mind as I was going through my books down on the lower level. And I think those books are worth reading if you're going to read anything as far as a Christian or Christian spirituality, so you have a mix of the Reformers, the medieval commentators, the Dutch Puritans. You have a history of the ancient church. You have modern New Testament theology. You have biblical theology, a good assortment. So I wanted to do now, so I can put these other books down the lower level into the library, is what is called on BookTube World the Mid-Year Freak Out Tag. Best book you've read so far in 2015. What is the best book I've read thus far? I really do not have any best book to recommend. I have read a lot of interesting books the first 6 months of the year. This afternoon I dug out these books that I found interesting. So these are the books that I found interesting. The first one I found interesting is Zama by Antonio Di Benedetto, translated by Esther Allen. This is in the New York Review Books Classic Original. I really enjoyed this book. The Winter Journal, I really enjoyed reading this. This is the book I finished. I really enjoyed this. I think it's worth reading. It says his memoirs. I found it very moving. It was just really well written. And then I thought this was really great prose, very interesting. Sleepless Nights by Elizabeth Hardwick. It says here, in Sleepless Nights, a woman looks back on her life, the parade of people, the shifting background of place, and assemblies a scrapbook of memories, reflections, portraits, letters, wishes, and dreams. An inspired fusion of fact and invention, this beautifully realized, hard-bitten, satirical book is not only Elizabeth Hardwick's finest fiction, but one of the outstanding contributions to American literature in the last 50 years. And then I really enjoyed these essays by John Leonard, The Last Innocent White Man in America, and other writings. Just really great writing. Just little essays, really insightful. Good thing to read, little short things. I really enjoyed reading this. And then I enjoyed reading this novel. I was really kind of surprised. This is Stone Arabia by Dana Spintola. I read this novel. It's not really bad and it's not really great, but I just thought it was really well written, a good story. And then I read The Village, A History of Greenwich Village, 400 Years of Beats, Bohemians, Radicals, and Rogues. I just read this. I was reading about Greenwich Village, the history, 400 years. It's like you look over the history of this one place in New York City, Greenwich Village, and all the people, all that went on. It was just really a good read. And then I read Nabokov in America, on Lolita, On the Road to Lolita. He wrote this, Robert Roper. Well, this was written, The Village was written by John Strausbaugh. This is Lolita on the Nabokov in America, on the road to Lolita. This is by Robert Roper. He goes into the writing, how Nabokov wrote his famous novel Lolita. It's just really interesting, great writing, very insightful, biographical. I just really enjoyed reading this. And then lastly, I enjoyed reading Robert Lowell, who was a great American poet. He was also married to Elizabeth Hardwick. Setting the River on Fire, a study of genius, mania, and character. Now this is, I don't know if I said it's a biography, it's basically a study of the Robert Lowell's mania, his schizophrenia, it's just really his bipolar illness, just really excellent. I really enjoyed reading this. So those are the books I really enjoyed reading that stand out in my mind the first 6 months of this year. Question 2, best sequel. I don't read sequels. The best new release you have read but I want to read, and that would be the novel by Will Self that I've shown in, it's over there on my to be read pile. I forgot to bring it here to the dining room table. But that's the new release, Phone, and also I've mentioned the new biography on Henry David Thoreau by Laura Dasrow Walls. I really look forward to reading. And the most anticipated release, it says here, the most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and that is a new translation, a complete edition of this book by Fernando Pessoa, The Book of Disquiet. This is translated out of Portuguese by Richard Zenith. They're coming out in, I think, maybe in the fall. The Book of Disquiet, a complete edition and I really look forward to that. And it says I have this little description of here I got from Amazon of the Book of Disquiet. The complete edition of a haunted autobiographical novel, or is it a fictional autobiography that has emerged as an existentialist classic in the 80-plus years since its author's death? Born in Lisbon in 1888, Pessoa might have taught J.D. Salinger and Thomas Pynchon a thing or two about anonymity. He wrote prolifically in 3 languages but published relatively little. He hid behind assumed names and identities, 75 of them all. The present volume is a case in point, written over the course of many years in the person of 2 such assumed names, Vinte Gales and later Bernardo Sordes. As for Gales, Pessoa opens, this book is not by him, it is him. It is a catalog of Kierkegaardian moods, of fears and loathings and constant presence of death in a fundamentally tragic world. I failed even before I had lived it, because even as I dreamed it, I failed to see its appeal, wrote Pessoa. He proceeds to make sun-splashed Lisbon a gray and gloomy place. Though often summer, Pessoa is rarely tiresome. He reflects interestingly on such things as the development of science, aesthetics, the pleasures of wasting time, and always mortality. We are born dead, we live dead, and we enter death already dead. Readers with a liking for Walter Benjamin and Pascal de Mundo, Pessoa's intellectual kin will find much of interest in this book. So I really look forward to this Book of Disquiet, the complete edition and last part of this year. The 5 biggest disappointment for me was The Knicks by Nathan Hill. it had some interesting ideas, but I think it was really poorly written, poorly executed. It was just kind of boring. Favorite new author? Oh, biggest surprise for me was The Frog by Stephen Dixon. This was the biggest surprise. After I read this, I bought 4 or 5 of his other novels, which I have not read, but I really recommend him. New favorite author, Stephen Dixon. Newest fictional crush, I have no fictional crush. Newest favorite character, I have no newest favorite character. Book that made you cry, there was no book that made me cry, but like I said, when I was reading Paul Auster's The Winter Journal, I found this, and as he went through his life, his boyhood and his young manhood and up until his 60s, I found it very moving in places, really beautifully written. Book that made you happy, there was no book that made me happy. I do not know the experience of happiness. Nothing makes me happy. Books are a blessing in this dead American world. That's what I wrote. So I just rushing through these. I'll put this sheet at the bottom of this video. And so now I can put these away. Like I said, I really recommend Stephen Dixon. Read The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Really excellent. So I'll sign off. Like I said, this is a Wednesday late morning. I've been reading this morning my new book on the book of Jeremiah, the Bible and medieval tradition, looking at this morning. So I'll sign off. Until next time, bye.